a sneak peek inside special education with myself, Sydney Lewis Ferdinand. So, who am I? I am the captain of the Alma College Swim and Dive team. I am 19 years old. I am currently a double major with special education and psychology. My connection to special education is that I myself have previously been tested 2 times, and they did not find any learning disabilities. I actually exceeded the expectations for the tests, but they found that I needed time to process things. My brother is also special needs, and he's a huge reason why I am going into this field. So what is a criteria reference test? A test that is designed to measure a student's performance. So this test is based on certain standards that a student should know. So any assessment that covers either Common Core or essential elements. The essential element standards are typically used for students with cognitive impairment. So what is a formative assessment? It's a short-term assessment. So any assessment that evaluates students on a unit or a chapter or some sort of weekly test. These help students and teachers determine what information still needs to be learned for the summative assessment. Some examples happen to be a weekly quiz, a Kahoot, a Quizlet, anything that is short-term in helping students develop the concepts. A summative assessment is an assessment that is based on a whole term or multiple terms. This assessment is testing on the information in a more detailed form than a formative assessment. A formative assessment is more little picture versus summative is big picture. Summative can also be seen as a bunch of formative assessments all in one. So triangulation. This is multiple ways of assessing students. So if you just use the summative assessments, you don't really know if the students are learning along the way. That's really what the formative assessments are used for. And if you only use the formative assessments, you don't know what the students actually learned. So you may have given them the concepts, but not the details needed to fully understand. This way of assessing allows you to figure out how much time to spend on a specific topic, or seeing if there's a topic area that students need more help with. So what's the Grades? It's a special test designed to assess grade level in either math or English. So the student is selected to take this test by a teacher. The student goes through the test until they can no longer answer 80% of the questions correctly. So I used the Brigance on a student in my placement. The student I tested using the Brigance tested at the lower 4th grade level. So while testing, I made sure to continue to the test after the lower 4th grade level, but the results just kept declining and the student started to get frustrated. So my graph stops at the upper 4th grade level. As you can see, the primer levels is very consistent until about the upper 1st grade level. So after the upper 1st grade level, you can see that the results drop down from 100% to 80% correct. And then it spikes back up around the lower 3rd grade level, back to 100% correct. Then back down after the upper 3rd grade and consistent until the lower 4th grade. Once we get to the upper 4th grade level, the performance drops below 80%. So why is this test helpful? You need to know a student's reading level because the level you are teaching may be too difficult or not challenging enough. So if you are teaching a general education class with a student with a learning disability, either in reading or math, you could be teaching a lesson on reading, and the student's at a 4th grade level, but you're teaching 8th grade, and you're just generalizing your teaching. The student is going to fall way behind because the level is too difficult for them. If this level is not challenging enough, the student gets bored and possibly just gives up on what you're trying to teach them. The student will benefit from specific grade level instruction. So how would I plan my lesson knowing this? So knowing this information, I would try to supplement this into my lesson. So if a student is in a general education classroom, I would avoid embarrassing the student by giving them the same material to read as the rest of the class, but modifying the worksheets for simpler comprehension questions, or even giving them a little extra time. Or I can combine both of these skills together. The student can also take the book home if they need more time to reread or have someone read to them. The class will be reading the chapters or in a book or a passage out loud to allow for better comprehension for all students. So what does the research say about teaching students with reading disabilities? So students with reading disabilities understand directions better if they are given orally, which does make sense because students with reading disabilities may read the directions and get confused or maybe not even comprehend them. So you can also do frequent progress checks and give immediate feedback. When you give immediate feedback, it allows the students to know what they're doing wrong and immediately correct it and continue those correct behaviors. My conclusion is that I have learned that students may be at a middle school level, but their education level may be lower than that. So I could have an 8th grade student at a 4th grade level. When having this in like a resource room, it's kind of difficult to know how to teach all of these different levels at the same time. So this means you can't really instruct generally because you have to attend to each student's individual needs.